Welcome to the Recapped. Spoiler alert. Movie starts showing a newly married couple, Bea and Paul, who have come to Bea's family cabin for their honeymoon. As it was already evening, they don't go anywhere, but decide to stay in the cabin while they are asleep during the night. There, we see a beam of light falling on them, but they are sleeping unaware of it. Next day, as they previously planned, they go to fishing on a boat, in a lake near the cabin, and there, they spend quality time together till the evening. While returning, they started looking for a restaurant in the town to eat food. Upon searching, they found that the town has only one restaurant. And when they go to that restaurant, they find its owner, Will, who is breaking things in the place. Will asks them to leave from there. But then he suddenly notices Bea and instantly recognizes her to be his childhood friend. He then invites them inside for food. Will's wife Annie is also standing with him near the counter. Will gets angry seeing her and leaves from there. When he goes, Annie tells the couple to leave the town. But they don't pay heed to her advice and start eating their food. After this, they walk back to their cabin. When heading towards the cabin and when they lay down to sleep, Bea was constantly thinking over the strange behavior of Will and his wife Annie. This agitates Paul and they get into a fight. Then they slept, facing away from each other. At night, Paul gets woken up by his phone alarm showing time to be 3:45 a.m. Paul thinks that it's his morning. He takes his fishing rod to go out, leaving Bea sleeping there in the bed itself, but then he looks at the clock, which showed the time, 12 o'clock. So, he returns back to the bed to sleep but finds Bea missing. He then searches for her everywhere, but she was nowhere to be found. He gets worried and goes outside the cabin to look for her in the forest. He finds her without any clothes, with her head bowed down. He gets worried seeing her condition and rushes towards her, calling her name softly. But she gets afraid, as if she was in a deep sleep. Paul makes her wear his shirt and brings her to the cabin, and asks her about the reason for being outside. But Bea was unable to recall anything. She lies that she may have been sleepwalking due to stress. On hearing this, Paul gets shocked but doesn't say anything. In next few days, Paul notices that Bea has started to forget many words, and her behavior is getting weird. She was unable to recall many of her memories. One day, Paul notices a bite mark on her thigh. Upon inquiry, Bea lied to him again, stating that it is a mosquito bite. But Paul does not trust her and goes to that place in forest, where he previously found Bea. He finds her torn dress there, which had some slime-like material on it. Paul picks it up and brings her dress with him. That night, Paul tries to get intimate with her, but Bea stops him by making excuses. Due to which, Paul gets angry at her and asks her about the dress. She lies again that she has given the dress to the laundry. Paul gets furious at her and shows her the clothes, and then they both started quarreling again. After this, they went to sleep. While in bed, Paul sees a beam of light falling on them. He goes out to check but was unable to find its source, but then he sees a shadow. He thought it was Will. And due to Bea's strange behavior, he thinks that they both are having an affair. He goes out with a gun despite Bea stopping him, and shoots, but no one was there. Next morning, we see Bea noting some information in her diary. She writes her own name, her husband's name, and also notes her address. She closes the diary when Paul comes. Paul apologizes her and takes her out for fishing to cheer her up. After some time, he tells Bea that they should return back. Bea denies him and starts making excuses, saying they haven't even enjoyed yet, so Paul agrees to stay. They were happy, as their relationship is now getting back to normal. And when they try to get intimate, Bea starts bleeding. Paul tries to take her to the doctor, but Bea refuses. Paul talks to her about her strange behavior and starts yelling at her. He asks her about the reason for her weird behavior, but Bea doesn't say anything. Seeing her not answering, Paul asks her about Will and her affair. And to confront Will, he goes to his house, where he finds Annie reciting the same basic information that Bea was writing. Paul ignores her murmur and asks her about Will. Instead of answering, she tells him to leave, as according to her he was not safe there, and she starts heading towards the lake. At that moment, Paul notices the same mark on her thighs, which were just like Bea's. He is about to ask her, but Annie was nowhere to be seen. When she is gone, Paul finds Will's cap which had blood stains on it. Paul thinks that Will is dead. He gets inside Will's house secretly, where he sees that the computer is switched on playing some camera recordings. Paul starts searching, last few days, recordings where he sees that Annie also leaves the house light beam and follows the light beam in the forest. Paul when tries to dig deeper, the computer shuts down. When Paul was leaving from there, he sees the pages of Annie's diary where Annie has written the basic information about herself, and again notices a slimy material on the paper. Paul gets confused, and when he starts to leave, a shadow figure is seen standing there behind the window watching him. Unaware of it, Paul comes back to the cabin. He shows Will's bloodstained cap to Bee, and tells her that we should leave, as this town is dangerous, but Bee defends Annie saying she was trying to save Will. Paul finds her words alarming and decides to flee leaving her behind. He tries to find his car keys which Bee has kept hidden. While searching, Paul opens Bee's bag, where he finds her diary, and when he reads the information Bee wrote in the morning, he discovers that Bee is not his real wife, rather, she is an imposter. He gets angry with her and asks her questions. She locks herself in the bathroom. Paul goes there and finds her stabbing her own genitals. Paul stops her and takes her to his room where he ties her to the bed. Then he asks her few things about their relationship. But Bee was not able to recall. And few things which she remembers were too little. Due to which, Paul's doubt is confirmed. Paul is looking at her genitals when he sees slimy material coming out of Bee. When he touches it, he sees a worm-type creature coming out of her stomach. Seeing this, Paul gets frightened, and he gets out untying her rope. Bee also comes behind him. She tells him that she went to the forest following the light beam because she couldn't come out of its effect. And when she reached the forest, few entities, that were just shadows, casted this creature inside her. And tells him that they will come to get her. She did not tell all of this to Paul, just to keep him safe. Paul tries to convince her that they both will get out from here and will call 911 for help. But Bee pushes him away because the light beam is back. She comes in front of it and tells him she doesn't need him anymore. And hits him, making him unconscious. When Paul gains his senses back, he finds him tied up in the boat. He explains him that his life is not safe here, that is why he will remain safe underwater. In spite of Paul stopping her, she throws him in the lake by tying him to an anchor. Just like Annie who threw Will in the lake. In the last scene of movie, we see Bee's condition is getting worse and she is watching her wedding film, when Annie knocks on her door. And then they both are shown following the light beam. And here the movie ends. Thanks for watching.